Youorns. Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here, and it's time for the youorns 10-minute take on Watford nil, Cardiff 1 at Vicarage Road. And Watford, their unbeaten run in 2024 comes to an end as Cardiff get the win, a win that they deserve because they did the simple things in football that Watford did not do. And in a game that was really poor to watch, a game lacking in quality, there was one moment in which Cardiff found a bit of quality, and that was what made the difference in this contest. A good goal right before half time for Cardiff earned them all 3 points. And Watford, who had an abysmal first half and a really tepid second half, except for a few minutes when the substitutes brought on the hell and the leather and the fire, just did not compete in this game the way that they should at home. And it's a big concern now at Vicarage Road as Watford in these championship games have been unable to get a victory. In the last 5 championship games at home, Watford have not won, and that is a concern. Watford now also have gone the last 2 games without scoring. That also would, I'm sure, concern a lot of Watford supporters. These things happen in football, but we've seen, even in a season where progression has been made, some of the same bad habits coming up, continuing to come up and emerge as problems in this Watford men's first team side. And we saw that again in this contest where Watford had just not brought the energy and the desire and the passion to win the game, the fight to win the game. And really dismaying for me, was that Watford didn't do enough to really get over the line in these home matches. And this particular home match there against Cardiff was a real signature of this. Watford, you have to do everything to win these kinds of home games. You have to. You're at home in front of your fans. Your fans pay good money. They're with you through thick and thin. What you have to do is really throw yourself into these games, especially at the bitter end of the games. Throw yourself into the game and throw yourself in. If you have to get hurt, do it in service of winning the game. I mean, you don't want to get injured, but go and dive in for the ball. Put your head in places where lots of players may be throwing in studs. You have to do that kind of thing. And this Watford side did not do that today when the chips were on the table and the money was on the line. And as a result, they ended up losing the game in a tepid manner. Now, don't get me wrong. Val put the substitutes on after around 60 minutes just before that. And they came in, they gave it a go. Dennis gave it a go. Dennis, who is still way far from fitness, gave it a go, did the best he could with what he did and what he was, as I said, in terms of his fitness. And then you had the likes of Rajovic come in and you had the likes of other players come in and try to give it a go, but they couldn't get over the line. And really, the Watford fate was sealed in the first half when the goal was scored, a bit of quality from Cardiff in the 43rd minute, where poor game management has come back to bite Watford over and over and over again this season. And just before halftime, it happened again. It happened in the numerous games this season against Coventry back a few months ago at the CBS Arena. We couldn't get in at halftime and we conceded a goal. And it happens over and over and over again. And it happened today. Watford should have gone in at 0-0, but they couldn't do it. And that goal knocked the stuffing out of Watford. They did not really respond appreciably in the second half, except for about a 15-minute spell when the subs came in and they did liven things up and they did come close. But the hallmark of this defeat today for Watford, poor decision making. The ball movement was not fast enough. The movement of the players wasn't fast enough. There was too much east and west and not enough north and south in terms of the Watford attack. And there was a lot of static footballers on the pitch for us today, which did not help our cause. Kone, who busted a 60-yard run at one point, was remonstrating with his teammates when they did not move with him and they did not make themselves available to him. The man ran 60 yards for you. And what are you willing to do as a teammate to show your commitment to trying to win this home match, to get over the line? Rajovic, who had a really good ball put into him by the likes of Ryan Andrews, who I thought actually was one of the few bright sparks in the game. Ryan Andrews, great ball in late on. Rajovic didn't even try to run onto the ball. The ball was maybe a foot or half a foot in front of Rajovic, but would Rajovic use his 6'4" frame to slide into that ball, to try to dive into that ball, to stretch for that ball with your legs? I mean, that's the difference between winning and losing these games. That's the difference between a point and a defeat. How much do you really want this footballing match? That's the question I have for the Watford players today in this men's first team. How much do you really want this kind of match? What is your commitment to winning? Now, after the game, Val talked about the very same things I talked about in the youorns post-match, both on Twitter and on Instagram. This lack of fight, this tepid, passive behavior from our team, coming out flat like this in a game like this after a 0-0 against Sheffield Wednesday, team in the bottom three, then to come into a game against a team in the lower reaches of the championship, to come out like this. And Cardiff didn't even play well. That's the issue for me. Watford in too many of these home championship matches are playing against teams and drawing or losing to teams who didn't themselves play very well at all. And yet, still can't get over the line. Watford need to get over the line, and the commitment to winning now has got to be the theme. What are you going to do in your commitment to win a football match, especially at the Vic? What is your commitment to winning at Vicarage Road? How does that look? That is the question, and that is the remit for this Watford men's first team. Are you willing to put your body on the line? Are you willing to dive into challenges, dive in where studs might go? Are you willing to stretch a few extra inches, slide in, as we've seen in many Premier League matches, players running into the area and stretching out a foot to try to put a toe onto the end of the ball, to put it into the back of the net, try to put a toe on the ball? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to take a tackle? Are you willing to fight for the ball? Are you willing to even risk injury to get over the line in these games? Because this championship is blood and guts. This English football championship, the CFL, is blood and guts. And it's not for the faint-hearted. And the problem is today, Watford were the faint-hearted in this game against Cardiff. It's not that Cardiff are great guns. Cardiff didn't play particularly well either. I mean, both teams are poor. The football was awful. Too much turgid football at Vicarage Road. And that's why we're probably not going to make the playoffs at this point. 16 games to play. The home form has not been good. We've made progress in various parts of the season, but we keep regressing in key areas. We haven't been able to eliminate these bad habits on a technical level. Our football suffers from several things. One of them is discipline, a lack of it. Another one of them is that final decision in the box. In that final third, what is your composure like? What is your strategy? Trust the process? Oh, players on the pitch aren't trusting each other. Not passing the ball at critical moments, shots taken from way outside the box that are going nowhere, and a lack of commitment to winning as a team, a lack of team play. So much discombobulation in this Watford match against Cardiff. There was really no organization when it really came down to it. And in that final third, we are so disorganized. There is really no game plan or no sense of any central focus. This is the reason. This is one of many reasons why Watford did not get any points in this game, didn't deserve to. And when you play the first 60 minutes as badly as Watford did, you don't deserve anything out of the game. Cardiff came in with a game plan. Their mission was to come in, sit back, and try to get something on the counter. That's what all away sides do. And then try to keep what you hold if you score, and then defend it out. And that's what Watford were up against today. Cardiff packed the box, the 18-yard box of 6 players, 6 defenders, and they defended manfully. Got into the spaces that Watford wanted to get into. They closed the clinic on them. They closed up shop on Watford. Watford were limited to corners and limited to shots at the side. Cardiff defended the game extremely well. And Watford did not execute well at all. No desire, no fire, no fight. I didn't see anybody throwing themselves at the ball. I didn't see anybody diving in with headers. I didn't see anybody throwing their bodies in at every last moment in this game. No, there was none of that. It was a Sunday stroll or a Saturday stroll on the beach. If you really want to win these home matches, you're going to have to play a lot better than this. And especially when you lose to a team that didn't play well themselves, it's unforgivable. And it's not like this is the first time this has happened. Watford, as I said, have gone 5 games at home in a row in the championship without a win. You have to now look back to either the beginning of December or late in November for the last time Watford won a championship match, best as I can remember at least. It might have been against Sheffield Wednesday, the 1-0 game. Look, expectations change during a season. Many of the Watford fan base, in my estimation, were looking at mid-table. Some were even predicting relegation. But clearly Val has done a great job and this squad is progressing and progressing very well. But still, the bad habits that have been the hallmark of several Watford seasons past continue to remain. And as long as those bad habits remain on the technical side of the football match, the way we set up, the way we execute or don't execute, we're not going to get anywhere near playoffs. There are 16 more of these championship games to play. And while there's an FA Cup match, a welcome distraction, by the way, a replay, on Tuesday night at St. Mary's against Southampton, which I expect actually Watford to come away with a win in, the game the following Saturday against Leicester City, the champions-elect, because they're going to win the championship, is going to be a very daunting task. Now, would it surprise me if Watford went in there and won the game? It wouldn't surprise me at all. It's a home game for Watford. Watford will be up for that game. I would expect they'd play far better than they did today. But when you consider that Leicester City went to the Bet365 today and crushed Stoke 5-0, I'm sure many Leicester fans are renaming that stadium the Bet365-0. Leicester City are going to be a handful. And considering that when these two teams last met at the Vic, Leicester beat us 5-1, what you saw today against Cardiff will significantly concern you ahead of the game against Leicester. I think the thing is that what we have to do is forget this game, but learn from it. This is not about 3 games in 6 days. This is not about that because every championship team goes through 3 games in 6 days. There's no excuse. This is about a lack of execution, a lack of heart and soul when it really counted. The lack of willingness to put yourself on the line, to stand up and be counted as a team is what cost you any points here today. Your strikers who have all their attributes don't use them. Specifically, I'm talking about Rajovic. Absolutely abominable. You have to dive in with your 6'4" frame. You have to slide in with your lanky legs, and you have to make it count. Fight for this three points. Fight for these 3 points, for goodness sakes. Come on. You've got a fan base here that has invested every red penny to see what you're doing, to see you get over the line. And I get it. Not every Watford fan feels the way I do about the way these guys performed today. They were awful. You got some Watford fans telling me, well, it's trust the process. Don't moan about it. Trust the process. The players didn't trust the process today on the pitch. And even Val walked out there and said, as I said earlier, perhaps, that these guys lacked fight. These guys weren't nasty enough. They weren't angry enough. They weren't desperate enough to win the game. You're at home. It's Vicarage Road. This is the venue that's got all kinds of history in it. This is the venue of the Graham Taylor years. This is the venue of teams that would stand up and be counted when the money was on the line. And what did we do today? Walked out of there without a whimper. with so much as a whimper. No excuse. I don't care about 3 games in 6 days. I care about a fully committed men's first team that will do everything to win these football matches at home. Everything. No excuse for a performance like this. Lack of discipline, silly yellow cards, Jake Livermore and company, silly yellow cards. And you invested in the silliness, but not invested in enough in trying to win the game. And you allowed a Cardiff side to come in here, get confident, play halfway decent, and then a sublime moment of quality knocked you off, finished you, done. No fight, no hustle, no pushing people around, no putting yourself about in the box, Rajovic. You're a big, lanky, strapping 6'4" lad. Put yourself about, make yourself useful. Yeah, I'm upset about this because you know what? I know it's been a very good run. 4 defeats in what, 18, 19 games? But blimey, come on now. You can't give the fans this kind of trollop every week. You can't give the fans this. It's been 5 home games in the championship, and you've not been able to put yourself about. And even in the game you won in the FA Cup, you didn't play well in. The game you last won in the championship at home against Sheffield Wednesday back in November, you didn't play well in that game either. So much work to do. We've made progress, and that's good, yeah. But we've got so much more progress to make this season. And I get it. It's not going to be one season thing. Obviously, this it's going to be 2 or 3 years. I think next season will be the season that Watford will really hit the gold. They really will hit gold next season. I think they will. But it's so frustrating to see 1 step forward, 3 back. The home form is a big concern. We've had, again, I'll repeat this once more, 5 consecutive championship games at the Vic without a win. And again, in the vast majority of them games, the away side that either won or got points did not play very well. Bristol City is the only exception to that. And we didn't play well in any of the games. The only game we played well in at home of late was the game against Southampton. That's in the FA Cup. And we should have won that game. Come on. It's not about moaning. It's about looking at your team and being honest in assessing how they played this football match against Cardiff. This is not about comparing to last season. This is not about that. You can't tell me, well, how does it compare to the last season? They lost against Cardiff last season at home, if memory serves me. Certainly didn't win at home against Cardiff last season. We haven't made any progress in that regard. I'm talking about this season, in these home matches, these last 5 home matches in the championship. We have not made the progress. We've not. We've not. We've not played well in any of the games in the championship at home. The last time we played well at home in the championship was when? When was it? The last time we played well at home outside of the game against Southampton at the FA Cup at the Vic. When was the last time outside of that game that we played well at home in the championship? Name me the game. Name me the game. I mean, are we going all the way back to QPR and Plymouth? I can't name the game. When was the last game that Watford played at home at the Vic, outside of the game against Southampton in the FA Cup, where we played well? Name it. Write it in the comments. I want to know what it was. I'm telling you, I can't. You have to go a long way to find it. I think the last good game that Watford played at home this season, outside of that FA Cup game against Southampton, were the 2 games to begin the season. QPR and Plymouth. Not a happy camper, as you can tell. And why should you be happy and satisfied with this performance? I think the good thing, again, is that Watford play on Tuesday. And I think they'll probably get the win at Southampton for all we know. Watford, the good thing is we found the winning formula and a way not to lose away from home. but we can't find a way to win at home. And you ain't going to any playoffs if you can't get these wins at home. Simple as. Your bread and butter's got to be your home games. And if you can't put that away, you ain't putting anything away. Watford have to be more ruthless and more aggressive at home throughout the game from start to finish. Put your body on the line in these games. If you want to win, if you like the club, if you want to play for the shirt, put your body on the line. You're a professional footballer. Show some fight, man. Do everything you have to do to win the game that's legal. Do everything. Too often this season at the Big, we've seen not nearly enough from a side that's got some quality, from a side that's capable of getting the job done, but seems content with only putting in one half of a performance, half of a game, one half where they play well, the other half where they're abysmal, abominable, turgid, non existent, no show stuff today from us. And that's not how we should be playing these games. We should not be playing like that. It's 5 games in a row now at home in the championship where we've got no victories. That's a concern. And we are now coming down the final stretch of the season. And we got the likes of we've already got the likes of Leicester coming in here. We've got the likes of Leeds United coming in here. We've got the likes of Preston North End coming in here. I mean, these are tough games at home. And if we can't win against the likes of Cardiff, I expect to win the other games. I expect to win against Leicester. I expect to win against these other teams like Leeds, who beat us in the Premier League 3-0 at the Vic. Our home form is a big issue. It's a huge issue, and it's costing us a chance at the playoffs. This has been the YouOrns 10-minute take.